Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville, and it is a beautiful neighborhood located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very honored and so wicked happy that you would join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Good Pods, Audible, Podcast Addict, CastBox, Player FM, Boomplay, Ghana, wherever you find your favorite shows. We have two fascinating guests for you today. First up, Mike Goldstein is here to celebrate American Stonehenge, the adventures of Jimmy and Andrew. Mike not only tells us about the story, but he also tells you about the process that he went through to make this book and the choices he made. It sounds fascinating. Later in the show, Maria Antonia is here to celebrate the Christmas elephant. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by 28 Days of Neon by Mayra Rosenberg. 12-year-old Neon Blue Green is queen of the cafeteria, co-captain of the cheerleading squad, and has the most amazing dog any 7th grader could ask for. Her only complaint in life is that her parents named her after the color of a sports energy drink. Until the morning she overhears them whispering and learns that she has only 28 days left to live. Neon needs a miracle, but how can she get one in only 28 days? Then it hits her. She'll do one good deed every day. This is a fascinating middle grade novel that you and your kids are going to love to read or co-read together. Get your copy today, 28 Days of Neon by Mayra Rosenberg. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Snoodles in Space, Episode 2, The Zoodles Strike Back, written by Stephen Joseph and illustrated by Andy Case. In this third installment of the Snoodles series, the Zoodles are determined to have their revenge. With the help of a grimy millionaire who's fallen on hard times, they intend to poison the Earth's water supply and turn everyone into willy-nillys and dilly-dallies. Can Brianna and Ricky save the Earth again? Will the outcast kids on the other side of the track rise to the challenge and help save the world? You can find out with Snoodles in Space, Episode 2, The Zoodles Strike Back. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by the books by Charmaine Perry Knights. Charmaine is a TEDx speaker, award-winning facilitator, world traveler, and author. Serving military families through quality literature is her goal and her passion. Her books are absolutely amazing. They are just full of great messages. Books like I'll Find My Way, and that's okay. I Move a Lot, and that's okay. And It's Cool to Be Kind. Such great books that you and your kids will absolutely adore. These books deserve to be in your family library. Get them today. The books by Charmaine Perry Knights. They're available today at Amazon. Join us right now from the great state of Colorado. Our guest is here today to celebrate. His brand new children's book is called American Stonehenge, The Adventures of Jimmy and Andrew. Please welcome to the show, Mike Goldstein. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited to talk about American Stonehenge. I love the description that you sent me about the book. As I understand it, this is a book that's going to get kids excited, not only help them fall in love with reading, but also get them excited to learn about history and geography.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Also, the book, one of the things that we've tried to do, and what my goal when I wrote this book was it's not only a thought-provoking fantasy, but it's also education in that all the subjects discussed in the book are historically and factually accurate down to the smallest detail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of what we want is we want to get kids reading and kids and families reading together. That's really something behind all this.
Well, that is certainly in line with our mission here at Reading with Your Kids. Our hope is that we can help all families grow closer through reading. And one of the things that we've talked about here on the show is that a lot of schools here in the States have gone out of their way to make subjects like history and geography as boring and uninteresting as possible.
Yeah, you have to interest kids.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. You got to get them involved and you have to get them interested. Yeah. And getting them reading is, to me, one of the most important things you can do for your kids and their education. My wife and I started reading to our kids when they were very small, and they were both reading at a very young age, and it's really served them well in life.
Absolutely.
And this is what I've tried to pass on in the writing that I'm doing, middle-aged kids, is that idea of getting them reading and having a good comprehension of what they're reading, getting them enjoying it.
Yes, absolutely. Getting them curious to ask those questions and to have conversations with the family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the importance here, is so that they want to read and they start wanting to read themselves.
Yeah.
And they can do it and understand what they're doing. And if kids could read like that, we wouldn't have had all the problems we had during the COVID. Kids could go home and they could study. They could read on their own. And it's important. So anyway, that's a big part of what we do. Yeah.
So tell us about this story that features a young boy and his 3,000-year-old telepathic dog. I'm fascinated with this.
Yes. Well, the story's about a boy named Jimmy who has always wanted a dog. And finally, his parents allow him to adopt a dog on his 9th birthday at the local shelter. And it turns out that the dog that he gets can speak with him telepathically. And he learns that the dog is immortal, born in Egypt 3,300 years ago, and has been walking the earth ever since, trying to find out who he is, where he came from, others of his kind. And he doesn't begin to even discover clues to these origins until he meets Jimmy. And that's sort of the theme that goes through these books. And the first story, American Stonehenge, the first book, is that there's a new site, a new find that was located up in northern Washington, complete duplicate of Stonehenge in England. And the kids and Jimmy's archaeologist parents are going up there to excavate the find, and they take Jimmy and his new canine companion Andrew with them on this trip. And the site is shrouded in mystery that Jimmy and his new pet Andrew have to uncover. And that's the basic theme of the story. And in this book, in all the books, since Andrew's lived so long, the story goes between the current adventure and other episodes in Andrew's long life. So it kind of goes back and forth. And this is what helps tie in the historical information that goes into it. So because we go back to places like Egypt and early England and so on, where Andrew has lived. And this ties into the current adventure in Washington.
Very cool. I'm imagining this could provoke all sorts of great conversations and great what if conversations.
Exactly. And that's one of the things, because one of the important thing in terms of getting kids reading and involved reading with their parents or their grandparents and getting them involved with this, not only involves that thought-provoking story, but it's also on how it's portrayed, how it comes across to the kid. And we have the book. One of the things about it is we spent 2 years developing illustrations because I wanted this book to have a graphic novel quality to it, right? To really bring the kids into it. So, we spent 2 years illustrating the book. And what we did is, every chapter, it has an illustration, full page, full colored, hand painted illustration of the major scene in that chapter, down to the smallest detail. And one of the things we really wanted to do, or I wanted to do in the very beginning, was I always hated the way that when you look at illustrations in a lot of books, they're at the beginning of the chapter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I never liked that because if first of all, if it's something that's, you might be revealing something in that illustration that you want to surprise the person with when they actually read the passage, and they're already getting a preview. Plus, when you get to the passage, you have to go back if you want to look at the illustration and keep flipping back. So I wanted these illustrations to be across on the opposite side of the page, so that a person could be reading it and looking at the illustration at the same time. So that the person could be doing that. And if they're reading with their child, the kids could be looking at the illustration and also being able to see and hear the words.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a neat idea. This is obviously,
to me,
it's obvious that you are super passionate about this project.
Oh, I wrote this book actually in 2008. That's how long it's been. But,
Wow.
and I wanted, and part of the thing was, of course I went to agents and publishers and I had a lot of interest, but nobody wanted to really nobody would do the book the way I wanted it, right? Most of them didn't even want to illustrate it. And if someone even illustrated it, a publisher would not do that with the illustrations. And the reason why is because you end up with extra pages in the book. Cost too much money. We ended up with, 16 extra pages by doing it this way. Okay, so what we did on those extra pages is we did drawings of the two characters in play, right, to cover those. So it costs more. So in order to do the book the way I wanted to do it, we couldn't go through a regular publisher. And I couldn't self-publish it because I couldn't be competitive with a big publisher. So I started my own publishing company. And that way we could be competitive and take care of everything, from the very beginning. So that's pretty much the way it was done. So I started my own company and found my own people. And the first person I had to find was an editor. Because now it's like I had good eyes on it. I had some, not professional, but very good people looking at the book as I wrote it, after I wrote it. But I figure if I'm going to publish it, I need a professional book editor. I found a woman who had 30 years experience in the New York publishing business, and that made all the difference. Yeah. So that was the first step, was getting the book down, edited perfectly. And then it was producing the actual book, which that took a while because first, like I said, the illustrations, and I was working 7-8 hours a day. Mm-hmm. You can believe that. It's an interesting story.
Yeah.
It took us a while, but we finally got the book the way we wanted it. And the book it's available in all the various electronic versions, but I always recommend that people get the hard copy because the physical book, that's the one a person gets the full reading experience. Mm-hmm. Starting, like you said, with the illustrations. In an electronic copy, you got to go up and down. So you really don't get that looking at the other side of the page.
Right.
That kind of. And plus the book was designed for family read togethers. So the book is big. It's like 7.5 by 10 inches.
Yeah.
And, like you said, it's got a wraparound cover of a great illustration. But the other thing is the book that all of our pages are coded with special coding that makes the copy and the illustrations like pop off the page. So it's very impressive. And kids, plus it's designed in such a way that it'll last for years.
Yeah.
I have great pictures of them carrying them around, little kids carrying it around their houses. like a little teddy bear.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that you designed the book to be read as a family. You know, a lot of families out there, once their kids become independent readers, that middle grade age, they're like, oh, well, I'm done. I don't have to read to my kids anymore. And even if they loved it, it's like, well, I have to encourage my kids to read on their own. We really encourage families to continue reading well after kids become an independent reader. There's so many benefits that middle grade readers get from reading with and co-reading with their parents, and caregivers, and even teenagers. There's lots of evidence that teens get a lot out of reading and co-reading with their caregivers.
You're absolutely right, and it's so important. That's, like I said, that's how we put the whole book together so that this would happen. And the whole idea is that and not only that, one of the other things we're doing, we're right now putting together a study guide that'll go with American Staring Homes to help the child increase their reading comprehension, but also to help the families talk to each other, right? By giving sample questions within the book, the parent gets to hear what's on the child's mind, and it brings up topics for discussion to accomplish just what you talked about. And that study guide will be put up on our website, and parents, teachers, homeschoolers, they can download it for free.
Great.
Charge for it.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to have that as, that's something we're working on right now. Family read together. That's the whole idea.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I'm imagining that reading this book together with their kids would inspire lots of families to vacation differently, maybe be more intentional, and picking a site where they can maybe do some exploring and talk about the archaeology and the geography of the places you're visiting.
Yes, exactly. And anyway, it's been very helpful. And one of the things that we did, it's like one of the things that we were talking about before we started, I think, was it's not easy getting your book out there when you're talking about millions of other books.
Yep.
What did you say before? How many books were published? We were making a mention.
There are thousands of books published every month. I think it's around 2,000 books published every month.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So you're, no matter what you are, you're just kind of in a sea there, and especially with all the information that people are getting today. I mean, it's not easy to get people to look at your individual book. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we put so much into just giving a great product, putting out a fantastic product, from the story to the book to everything, and also the price. With our own publishing company, we were able to come up with to find a printer and come up with not only a competitive price, but a price where people could get a great product for an affordable price. And for instance, this book, the way we've done it, sells for $24.95. And the closest thing to it that we found in a big bookstore was a cookbook that was bound the same way, same size, and had photographs. It was a cookbook, and it sold for $10 more. So wow. We've been able to price this in a very affordable way, so that people get a great product for an inexpensive price, which is the way I think it should be. Yeah. And so one of the things that we insisted on is that people that wanted to review our books reviewed the physical copy, not the electronic copy. Now, this was not the easiest thing to do in the beginning, because to get the book, we were mentioning before, how hard it is to get you out. you're there was so, the one way that we could do this was by getting interviews by editorial book interviews, non-paid, from these people that have huge followings, right?
Mm-hmm.
That seemed like that's a way to get it out and get a word of mouth going. Yeah. But wasn't very easy. It took us like months to find to get two reviewers who would review the book. It took us months of doing that, and who would review the physical copy. And once we got those guys and they reviewed the book, and once they posted those reviews, well, now they have all these followers, and all of a sudden that's when the word of mouth started. And not only were we getting the interest in the public, but we also had other interviewers who were interested. And it didn't take long before we were just like, we had to start turning them down. It went that well. And if people look at our website, you'll see, I don't know, maybe 300 reviews up there, customer reviews and editorial reviews. But a third of those reviews are editorial reviewers that were not paid, non-paid editorial reviewers. Wow. And that's what did it. That's what kicked things off for us. That's what started the word of mouth. Because each one of these people had, thousands of people that read them, right? And they gave us, and that's how it started. And so you'll see, like, up on our website, I think somewhere like in the neighborhood of 120 editorial reviews from book reviewers all over the world, and from all walks. Yeah, so that's what really did it.
Yeah, congratulations! It's obvious that you have great passion for this project. You're investing your time, your money. Where does this passion come from? Did you always dream about being, a publisher of children's books, or, at this point in your life, where did this passion and determination to make this happen come from?
It's an interesting question. No, I'd never even imagined being a writer. Okay, to be honest with you. I wrote nonfiction articles and things for years. And actually the first book I published was nonfiction. But I've always been a storyteller. And that's when my wife was reading to my kids, I was telling them stories. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I told my kids stories. I told my grandkids stories. And the whole idea as a storyteller was I would always try to get them involved, with the stories. And I was able to, I would have them pick out something, any subject they want. If they couldn't think of something, find something in the room. And they would just come up with something that was on their mind or interesting to them. And I would create a story about it and then involve them with it. And so I was a storyteller, but not a writer. Once I published my first book, my nonfiction book, at that point, I felt like I could write an actual book. And, my former wife and my daughter, suggested that I write a book on some of the stories I've been telling my eldest grandson. When he moved away, he would call me every night for a Poppy story. That's what he called me, Poppy. And I would tell him stories over the phone. And this went on for quite a while. And so the one set of stories that he enjoyed the most were the adventures of Jimmy and Andrew. And that's where these stories came from. That's where the books came from. And I started writing the first book, and my former wife, who also helped me with writing projects for like 30 years, helped and did the editing on it. And I would do a chapter and send it to her for editing. And that's how the book was written. That took about a year to do that. And the rest has been just getting it to this point.
Yeah. Well, I love that this comes from such a wonderful place of love. It was created out of love for you that you had for your grandkids, and that's a beautiful thing. And it's so neat that you've worked so hard to create an experience for families where they can also not only feel that love that you had for your grandkids and telling the story, but also create their own loving memories.
It's been really rewarding in that way. And I'll tell you, you read I love getting those testimonials and the all of those reviews that you see of customer reviews. And I loved reading them as they came in over and over, because you'd see these reviews from parents and grandparents telling me exactly, I sat out with my 2 grandchildren. One of them was old enough, but the other one was only 6, and she didn't really understand, but she was right there listening to everything. They go through the whole experience, and it's wonderful. And people can go up and read all this on our website. It's at jimmyandandrew.com. It's incredible. And not only parents and grandparents, but teachers and homeschoolers. There's a wonderful family in Australia, homeschooling family that just, all their kids were involved. So that's what makes it worthwhile. That's what really makes it worthwhile, is getting that kind of feedback.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Where else do you plan Jimmy and Andrew to explore?
Well, the second, where do we plan? Well, the second book is already done, and it's right now we're illustrating that book. So we're hoping to have that book done and out we're not hoping, we will have that book out in 2025, right? And very, very excited about that. Love American Stonehenge. It introduces the subject. It was so much fun writing it. Book 2 is like American Stonehenge on steroids. It's called Land of Caverns. And we've had some advanced reviews of the manuscript, and it's just incredible. I mean, I'm getting reviews from historians saying that it's the best adventure book they ever read. And so we're very excited. And I have many other books in my head. So, I have at least 3 more other books in my head. So we'll just see how long it goes. I mean, I don't really plan too much. It's just when I write, a lot of people say, well, it's so detailed. How do you do the outlines? I don't do outlines. Mm-hmm. I don't do anything like that. And when I was asked by agents or publishers about writing synopsis for another book, I couldn't do a synopsis. I couldn't do it, because I sit down and it just comes out when I write. And that's the way it feels good. I sit down and it just comes out. I'm as surprised as the reader when I'm writing. That's what makes it fun. Oh, wow. I don't know what's going to happen in a lot of cases. I have a general idea of the story, but I don't have all the details until I sit down and do it. Well, that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like a really fun book. We love the art here at the show, and we wish you luck because you put so much passion in this, and it's a wonderful gift for families. So thank you for doing that, and thanks for coming on the show. Remind everybody again where they can go to find out more about American Stonehenge.
Okay, you can go up on our website at www.jimmyandandrew.com. And on the website, you can see a free 4-chapter free preview in print replica of the book. And be sure to go there and look at that if they want to see the book, because you can see just what it looks like and go through that, and it's just gorgeous. And you get the book there. You can also get it on Amazon. Right?
Wonderful.
And that's pretty much, and people can get them anytime. Right now they're available.
Yes. And we also encourage families to go and request books at their local library. It not only helps the author, but it also helps the rest of the people in your community that didn't get a chance to hear Mike here on the podcast.
That sounds fantastic, because I'll donate to any libraries.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of American Stonehenge, The Adventures of Jimmy and Andrew. Our guest has been Mike Goldstein. Hey, Mike, thanks so much for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
This episode is brought to you by the Logan series. 3 wonderful books written by Christine Ritchie McNamee. Logan and the Missing Masterpiece, Logan and the Lost Luggage, Logan and the Missing Jewels. Logan and the Lost Luggage is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read, and all 3 of these books feature Logan, an adorable Cocker Spaniel who travels the world with his magic phone. You and your kids are going to love traveling around the world with Logan, meeting animals from all over the world, visiting different countries, and learning how to get along with people from other countries and other cultures. It's a beautiful series of books. Our Reading with Your Kids certified great read panel loved Logan and the Last Luggage. We know you're going to love all 3 books. Check it out today. The Logan series by Christine Ritchie McNamee. This episode is brought to you by Feliz Navidad. It's December of 2019, and Pittsburgh is covered in a terrible fog. Even worse, all of the reindeer get sick and they can't fly. Everyone in the North Pole is worried they'll have to cancel Christmas. But just when all hope seems lost, Santa's pet, Feliz Navidad, raises his paw to help. And while a dog is not quite a reindeer, Feliz is their last chance to save Christmas. This is a book about perseverance and grit. Feliz Navidad, the story of how Santa's dog saved Christmas. Get your copy today. Feliz Navidad by Ari and Rhea Helper. Are you looking for the perfect gift for a young reader? Woofy and the Dinosaur Dig Adventure, the second book in the Woofy series, is an exciting choice that fosters creativity, friendship, and teamwork. Join Woofy, a small gray stuffed dog, on his thrilling quest to help his friends excavate a T-Rex in the mountains. Young readers will enjoy his humorous adventures and admire his skills as a pup paleontologist, all set in a beautifully illustrated lyrical story. Authored by Helen Rogenson, retired award-winning teacher honored with the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science Teaching. This book encourages lifelong learning while supporting charities for animal rescues and children in need. Don't miss out. Visit us at unpackyourownhappy.com and connect with us on Instagram at unpackyourownhappy. This episode is brought to you by OnceUponADance.com. Ignite imagination with award-winning dance and movement books. Once Upon a Dance inspires young readers to twirl, leap, and dream with whimsy and wonder. Whether your child enjoys unicorns, bats, zombies, or cats, Once Upon a Dance has a dance-it-out story to get them moving. For more information about this 37 delightful books, please visit OnceUponADance.com or find them on your favorite social media platform. Join us right now from beautiful Ontario in the nation of Canada. Our guest is here today to celebrate her new picture book. It's called The Christmas Elephant. Please welcome to the show, Maria Antonia. Hey, Maria, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing really good. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Elephants are one of my favorite creatures in the world. As somebody who has been a performer doing educational magic shows at schools and churches and libraries and zoos, I've had a couple of encounters backstage with some elephants. They're just amazing creatures.
I will 100% agree with that. They are amazing. And when I was researching this book, not that there's actual elephants in it. It's about a girl who dresses up like an elephant. But I did put some elephant facts in the back. And there are some things in there I did not know about elephants. That they're just amazing creatures.
What was the most surprising thing you learned?
I would say that they are able to show compassion, empathy. Like when an elephant dies, the other elephants will have it's like a burial ceremony. It staggers the imagination that these are creatures that would be affected like this. But yeah, that was one of the things I think that I learned that I didn't know before.
Yeah. So let's learn about this little girl who likes to dress up like an elephant.
Yeah. So this little girl is based on my real life niece. who, she had a thing for elephants. She, I think, was introduced to elephants via Dumbo,
Yeah.
flying elephant. She loved, I think she watched that movie like over and over again. And my mom and I were out shopping at a rummage sale, and we found this trunk of costumes, and we pulled one out, and like it was an elephant costume. It was just her size. We brought it back for her, and she put it on, and like she just never took it off. And so, that stuck with me. This is like, she was about 4 years old at the time. She is now, I think, 17. So this is quite a few years ago. And, this stuck with me, and I thought, well, like, what does an elephant wearing girl, what could she do in a story? Because as an author, that's what I'm thinking of. Everything is somehow connected to a story. And so, one of the things I thought about was the Christmas play, and how, like, what if an elephant wanted to crash a nativity play? So this became my story. I have 2 sisters in the story. The oldest sister is the director of the play, and the younger sister, Ellie, is she wants to be an elephant in the nativity play. And her sister, which is, if you want to say anybody's like me, this sister is like me. She has this line in the book that there were no elephants in Bethlehem, therefore you cannot be an elephant in the play. And that would have been me. Like to me, if it's not historically accurate, that kind of bothers me. But this little girl, so she tries to find ways to get into the play. So she like hides with the camels, and she like tries to get in with the angels, and the older sister Piper finds her every time and drags her backstage. And then there's like a disaster happens on the set. One of the main props, baby Jesus, goes missing. And of course, Ellie is, with her amazing elephant memory, is able to save the day.
Awesome. So. What a cute story.
Yeah, it's, and I mean, there's other things. So like I said, it's based on my niece, but it's also based on a story. I've directed Christmas plays. I've stage managed in theater, and props going missing is one of the things that, like, it just happens. People just don't put their props back where they're supposed to. I've had to, as a stage manager, had to find ways to get a prop on stage or a prop off stage that got left on. So sometimes I would do it myself, or like quickly between scenes, or sometimes during a scene, I was able to send somebody out to get it, like in a really, like sort of a way that was, not so obvious. But then also, like, there was so one of the plays that we had, with our church had a bazaar. And then right after the bazaar, so they kind of took over the entire church basement, and that's where our rehearsals were. And it was after the bazaar that we were getting ready to rehearse this Christmas play, and I went to our props person. I said, so, where's the baby Jesus? And she's like, I don't know. He wasn't anywhere around the stage. And then I realized, wait a minute, we just sold a whole bunch of dolls at this bazaar. And so we ran. It was like, so the bazaar had ended, but it was still set up. So we ran to the place where the dolls were. And she shows me, is this the doll? I'm like, no, that's a tiny little doll. Like, that is not, it was a bigger doll than that. She brings out this huge, humongous baby doll. Like, I mean, this like looked like it should be like, I don't know, 10, 12 pound baby. And she said, well, here's the baby Jesus. I'm like, no, that is not the baby Jesus. That's humongous doll. And unfortunately, we never did find that baby Jesus. But that story, I thought, well, what if we had found our baby Jesus? And so now, yes, we still have our baby. I tend to use the tinier doll. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, we in our shows we've had little younger Marys, so it doesn't look so out of place. But this little doll is quite small. And the big doll, it just looks huge. So I haven't used it yet, but maybe one of these days I'll have to, or maybe I'll find another doll that will fit the bill. But yeah, so these two stories came together to kind of create this story, The Christmas Elephant.
Wonderful. So one question that pops to mind, we have lots of listeners of all different faiths and backgrounds, and some folks with no faith tradition, I imagine. Could a family that was perhaps Muslim or Buddhist or Jewish be able to enjoy this story?
I think so. It's not super, like the story itself is not heavy on Christianity. In the back, so I do have a section in the back that has Bible verses that does reference Mary and Martha from the Christian Bible. But you could not read that part if that is not something you want. But the story itself, I've had people who, for all different faiths or no faith at all, who really love the story itself. But so if you understand what it's like to have a stage production. And I mean, that's really what the actual story is about. It's about these two sisters. It does mention baby Jesus being, one of the props. You'll see the different characters that are in the nativity play, the Mary and Joseph and the angels and the Magi, the camels. There's all sorts of, animals, sheep. And, but yeah, if I would say you could probably enjoy this, from any faith.
Yeah, I agree. And, one of the things we say is that books are beautiful in that they can be a mirror, window, and sliding glass door. And as much as I love sharing with my kids and using a book as a window to look at different cultures and different faiths, I think it's I would hope that all families would want to just be curious and help their kids understand that there are people who have different beliefs and different faiths, but at the end of the day, we're all part of the same beautiful human family.
We are part of the same human family. And, I know, so my faith does come out, like I said, at the very end, you could read the author's note and, you can see that that's what I believe. But you could, again, like I said, you can read the story, if from any kind of faith, I think.
Yeah, I agree. What inspired you to become a children's author?
So I went to university. I took English and history. That I've always loved English and history. I did really good in that in high school. That always interested me. And so I continued that in university. And I will say, I did all the classics, reading Charles Dickens and Jane Austen and all sorts of, I grew up reading a lot of classics too, like Little Women and, Anne of Green Gables, all sorts of those. And, I took a course, and I don't know why I decided to do this, maybe for nostalgic reasons, but I took a children's literature course. And when I read those books, and I was reading books that I had never read before. Yeah, we read Alice in Wonderland. I knew about Alice in Wonderland. But later on, we started reading books that I had never read, and I really liked these books. They were kids' books. I was in my 20s. I didn't read kids' books anymore. But I found that I actually liked these books with the hope. They had more of a hopeful message, happier ending than most of the books I was reading in my other literature courses. And I didn't start there, but I think the seed was planted. And then later on, I started writing stories for my nieces and nephews. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and I'm not the richest aunt, so I can't just go out and buy them, just any expensive gifts. I decided I was going to give them birthday stories. And I did have a love of fairy tales, so I would mash fairy tales. I would take Cinderella and mash it with Sleeping Beauty and create a whole new story. And I would send them to my nieces and nephews when they were younger. And then one day I thought, well, what if I got one of these published? So I asked actually one of my nieces, help me find what you think is the best one. And we picked one out. And I sent that in to a publisher that took unsolicited manuscripts. And I heard nothing. I thought, well, you know what? Why? Why was it? It's because it's no good. Like, they just don't say anything. So I took the same manuscript and I went onto Facebook and found a critique, sort of a place where you could ask for critiques. And I found 4 women who read my story, and then I read theirs, and we critiqued each other. And that they helped me make that story better. And it's not that it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. There were things I just didn't know that I just didn't know. And so I learned a lot from them. I learned by querying agents eventually. That was a big step for me to go out to agents. And finally, so I also got critiques from professionals, and that opened my eyes. I learned that all those birthday stories that I wrote, like 1,200 words of them, and that I think was on the short end of things, were way too long. I mean, a picture book is probably about, 500, 400, 500 words. And the Christmas elephant, I can't remember how many words we got it down to, but my editor, man, she just chop. She took out like favorite lines of mine. I'm like, what? No, I didn't tell her that. But I went to my critique partners and I said, she wants to take out one of my favorite lines. What should I do? Should I fight for it? And they looked at the line. They said, no, Maria, it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes you just have to kill your darlings. And so I've learned that. And it's something that, that I never expected to go down this path, but this is where I am. And I enjoy actually very much being a children's author.
That's wonderful. I love those stories. It shows so much resiliency and determination and courage, because there are a lot of people who have lots of dreams, but without the courage and the putting the foot to the ground to take that first step, they just stay dreams.
Yeah, and I will say that absolutely. For me to go out and ask for that first critique, like I just put out, I agonized over the wording because you have to put out what the story's about, and it's like, is it a picture book? What is it? And you have to put like a little mini sentence saying it's about, it was a fairy tale, a mishmash of, it was a fairy godmother fairy tale. And, so anyhow, these people came and said, but that was like really, really hard for me to put myself out there. And I just had to, I'm an introvert. So again, that's not easy. So I worked in theater, but I wasn't up on the stage. I was behind the stage. I told you, I'm Piper from the story. I'm the one who is behind the stage, making sure the props get on, making sure everything's okay. I don't need to have, when I hear applause, that's for everybody else. And I know when I'm behind the stage, like a stage manager, and the audience is clapping, I know that's also for me because I made it happen. And I'm very happy to be behind the stage, where no one can see me. So, that is definitely something that is hard for, I know, a lot of people. And, that is something you have to realize that you have to sometimes go out there and do things. I know, again, one of the things I learned in university is in high school, all my teachers knew me. I was a good kid. They knew who I was. They knew I was near the top of the class. Oh, Maria, she would hand in her homework, all that sort of thing. University, that didn't happen. My professors didn't know who I was. And I realized, wait a minute, if I want my professors to know who I am, I have to say something. And so I made myself a rule. And I find this helpful. I made myself a rule that I had to raise my hand at least once during class and participate, which is not fun for me to do. I don't like to do it, but I forced myself to do it. And that it helped me. And I think sometimes we introverts have to do stuff like that to just know that we have to go out there because no one else is going to go out there for us.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you keep talking, mentioning missing a prop gets lost. I made a living doing educational magic shows for 35 years on my own, solo performer. How I liked it. I was responsible for the props to get where they needed to be and whatnot. When the pandemic happened and I couldn't perform, couldn't get out there, and then shortly after the pandemic, I had an accident which found me in the hospital in a wheelchair for months. And I couldn't, during that time, I would have, they weren't nightmares, but they were very disturbing dreams where I'm walking on stage and I don't have anything. The case isn't, the bag isn't, it's like, what am I going to do going on stage? And it happened too many times.
Yeah, that is, and like I said, as someone who that is was my job to make sure all, props were, it's like, yeah, I can totally relate to that kind of nightmarish scenario.
Yeah. Not fun at all. Well, I'm excited for you having this book, I'm not sure when this will air, but we are recording it and the debut of the book is only 15 days away, right?
It is coming up. It's as of tomorrow, I think it's 2 weeks away. So the 8th of October, 2024 is when it comes out.
We will see what we can do if we can publish this episode before the 8th of October. But in the meantime, we should tell everybody, whether they're listening on the 8th of October, before the 8th of October, or sometime in 2026, where they can go to find out more about you and find out more about the Christmas elephant.
So I have a website, mariaantoniawrites.com. And so that has links to all sorts of places where you can buy. You can get it at Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, here in Canada, it's Chapters, Indigo. There's my publisher, Paraclete Press. They also have it. So it's all over the place. And as every once in a while I go to someplace and it's like, it's on sale. So that's kind of neat to see that. And
Excellent. Well, we've had a great time speaking to the author of The Christmas Elephant. It's a delightful little story, and it was written by our guest, Maria Antonia. Maria, thanks so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids. Well, join us for the next exciting episode of the show. We'd love for you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, @readingwithyourkids on Instagram, and @gentlymagic on X. Please check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. And of course, we'd love for you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Check out our blog. Visit our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read Wall of Fame and use the contact button up at the top of the page to let us know what you love about the show. Let us know what we could be doing better, and let us know who you would like to hear on a future episode of the show. And if you are an author, please be sure to click the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page to find out how you can be a guest. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of Kidlet fans all across the world about your great kids book. You can also learn about our effective and very affordable promotional services. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Mike Goldstein. Please be sure to check out American Stonehenge, The Adventures of Jimmy and Andrew. Also want to thank Maria Antonia. Please check out The Christmas Elephant. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Rory Grady, Rayling Tang. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to subscribe to the show. Thank you so very, very much for taking the time to write a 5-star review of the show wherever you listen to the show. But most of all, thank you for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every single time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.